Welcome to the What Did You Think podcast, episode
34.
34.
Yes, sir.
Oh my goodness, Cameron, we did it. We made it to 34.
Yep.
Never thought we'd make it this
In
far.
our weekly uploads, it only took like 50 weeks.
It literally took like
51 weeks. Yeah.
Um, how cool. How cool is it that we're almost at a year of doing this?
I would say it's pretty cool. So cool, in fact, that we are going to semi-celebrate the 1 year next week by going back to the Heartland Film Festival and talking about our experience there this year. This is where it all started, and that's where it's going for the
And
anniversary.
that's where it's going to end.
But
And,
for this episode, we go back in time.
how far back, Cameron?
All the way back to the bite of 87.
Is that the bite of 87?
It just might be because today we're talking about Five Nights at Freddy's, starring Josh Hutcherson, a little girl, and Freddy and the gang. Directed by Emma Tammy, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm just excited about this.
Right. So I think a good way to get into this is talking kind of like what we did with the Taylor Swift thing, because these are both pretty similar. Not at all.
No,
I think,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
but like, what is your previous experience with Five Nights at Freddy's?
Well, I mean, the first games came out in 2015, and I think I was in like the perfect age to like be in on the hype at that time.
Mhm.
I had never, I only played on my phone. I never had it on the PC or anything like that, but I was with every single release. I think the first game that came out that I didn't play was Sister Location, and I haven't played a game in the series since, but I've stayed up to date with MatPat and his extensive lore timeline videos,
Right.
and how they're always wrong and always right. And I never read any of the books or anything like that. I played the first 4 games, and then I was just a spectator from that point on.
Right. And we'll keep it spoiler free for a little bit. Um, but as far as like I go, I get scared easily. So when it came out, I was like, oh, perfect. My favorite YouTubers are playing this. So I
Yeah.
don't need to play it myself because I get too scared and I can just hide in the comments. Um, so that's what I did. And I thought I didn't pay attention to the lore, because, well, at first, because, it just started off as like this one-off game. You know what I mean? And just blew up
Yeah.
to where there was like a sequel every year.
There's like
The
a sequel
second
every couple months. He pumped them out, bro.
It's crazy. I played the second one a little bit on a friend's iPad.
Yeah,
And
and
then
that's the prime way to experience those games.
is there a bug on my wall?
No, is this going to be a recurring theme now? There was a bug on your wall last episode.
Wait, there was?
Yeah.
Was it like a spider?
No, like, well, yeah, but it wasn't behind you. It was like across the room. Whatever.
Oh, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
I would have freaked out. No, anyways. I played one on a friend's iPad, and then that was it. I was debating playing more, but also, like I said, I get too scared. So yeah. Uh, anyways, I was super excited for this movie when it came out, when they announced it.
Announced
I
it 8 years ago.
Yeah, I thought it was never gonna happen. Um, and when it was like officially coming out this year, it was like it's gonna be terrible or great. I don't think there's gonna be an in between. Um,
I had
and
incredibly low expectations for this.
oh, absolutely. I mean, and the trailers did not do it justice too, because I really thought like this is going to be really bad.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of happy to say I loved this. Now, critically speaking, there are, a lot of issues and, some good things, but like personally me, I really loved it. I think this is the best like thing they could have done with this IP in a weird way.
Yeah,
Without like going too like lore extensive. You know what I mean?
yeah, and like I just think it's impressive enough that it's not bad, but then it keeps going, and there are parts in the movie where I'm watching it, I'm like, this is actually just good. Like this is actually just incredible. Not
Uh,
incredible. Well, yeah, there's one scene in particular that I was enjoying quite a bit, and not to say
well,
there's only one good scene, but there's one standout scene.
right. I think for me, I was well like I'm really glad they focused on a few things. Um, to like kind of give you the layout if you're not watching the Five Nights at Freddy's movie for some reason. Um, it's about this guy who's really struggling looking for a job because he's trying to take care of his sister, and he finds this job at this old family pizza place that's kind of run down as a security guard. And uh-oh, the animatronics start going wacky. Um, and he has to try to save the day. That's the what did you think synopsis. Um, and what I absolutely love is them focus on the people in the movie. I think that not like every character, like, yes, there were characters that were easily like dismissed, but Josh Hutcherson and his sister, I actually really cared about in this movie. And I don't think it would have worked as well if like this is odd to say. This might sound stupid, but I think he gives a really solid like performance. Like I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, he kind of overdoes it sometimes, but I really do care for him, and I really want him to succeed in this. I mean, I think if I didn't have that emotional connection to our lead, then the rest of the movie would probably have been pretty bad.
Part of the way that it works is that they set up stakes outside of the pizzeria,
Right.
because you know there's always in horror movies it's like, will this person die? But there's also the stakes of if he loses his job, he loses custody of his little sister, and
Hmm.
that is what he's fighting for, more than just your standard scary monster.
Hmm. I mean, and they definitely do dive into the like what's the word I'm looking for? Like ghostly presence. I don't know, like the
The
paranormal.
supernatural, yeah.
Yeah, they dig into like the supernatural paranormal side of things. What I mean, which I think works really fine, and I think is a better way to kind of explain how this is without doing the dumb flashbacks that the game does and requiring you to watch several different videos to understand what's happening. It like really dumbs it down in the sense for the audience to enjoy it while also leaving some like pieces of candy for the people who have played the game to be like, oh, I know what this is.
Yeah. um
Um,
I it I will say, as far as like, we were talking about these pluses and the general overview before we get into spoilers and stuff. Josh Hutcherson, there are some scenes where it's like, yeah, he's really getting into this. There were a few scenes where it kind of seemed like he didn't want to be there. In my opinion, he seemed not as interested in it. His performance fluctuates throughout the movie, which is
mm,
kind of disappointing. But one person who doesn't fluctuate and is just generally not that good is
is
Vanessa,
yeah.
the
Oh
girl, like the
wow.
cop character.
Vanessa the cop is it's so one-toned.
Yeah.
Um and also it's kind of like one of my pet peeves in movies when it's like they're being ambiguous and vague for no reason at all. And it's like they're purposely like saying open-ended answers and it's like shut up, no one likes you. They're like, you know something, don't you? So we should definitely put up some decorations right now.
Yeah.
It's like, and that happens like like I feel like four different times in the movie. But her acting was also not great at all. I cared not like I had no care in the world for her at all. Um, but not to dismiss that too quickly. Someone I also really cared about um is the daughter. I think the
Yeah.
daughter's really good. Um which like she's a child actor, so whatever, I'm sure you could critique her if you enjoy picking on little like they're probably doing better than you. You know what I mean? So,
Well, I
uh,
mean, oh, she's not on this podcast. I'll tell you that much. So,
that's true.
uh,
We tried to invite her on, and she said she had better things to do. So,
she's I've seen better performances, but it's not like how some child actors are, where it's like unbearable,
I think, I mean,
unbearable. Yeah.
on Bonnie,
Or
am I
or or
right?
or 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 or
Or
or. Um.
oh man. Okay, well, okay. So this is fun. This is a fun movie.
Yeah.
Um,
What
we were cracking up a lot in this. Like, I
and
don't even think we're
surprisingly,
being
like the movie wants you to crack up at it. Like it definitely doesn't play it serious the whole time. And
right.
um I partially brought up the Vanessa thing and how she was kind of a low spot in the movie to contrast that with the very far and away highest part of the movie, which is the portrayal of the animatronics themselves, the reason everyone's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm so happy they're not just CGI. I'm so happy they are actual physical animatronics that are
Right.
there, which means somewhere on the Universal lot there was an actual security guard actually watching over the Five Nights at Freddy's animatronics. Which,
Yo, that is crazy. That'd be kind of freaky. Not
yeah,
even gonna lie. That
yeah,
is a weird job.
but
Whoa.
I love it because it also enhances the performance because like the interactions these characters have, it's more believable when you're not having the Sonic movie, you know, James Marsden just looking at nothing,
Right.
talking to a green tennis ball, like
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. No, I think it was wise of going practical with the animatronics. I think they kind of look janky sometimes, but I mean,
to me that seems like that is kind of on purpose because if you've ever seen like animatronics that were actually used in real kids party places, they're not Disneyland animatronics, they're
and
not
that's
fluid.
right. Yeah, you're right.
This isn't the Hall of Presidents as much as I would love to see Freddy Fazbear there someday.
The whole presidents.
Yeah.
Or 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 or
Uh,
or um oh I think we had such a good theater experience of just us. I felt like
no, I mean, we had a great theater experience, but like if it was any other movie, it would be terrible.
okay, yeah, okay. So I guess Isaac said something super funny. So apparently, to kind of slight spoiler territory here, um, the movie talks about, you know, like something to do with ghosts, and it involves like some kids running around. Um,
This was the only time during the movie I was actually scared because I saw this. There's a scene where this dude is like having a dream or whatever, and these kids start running around him, and it's supposed to be kind of creepy. He just sees in the corner of his eye, he sees a kid run by him, and stuff like that. And as that happened, almost in the theater, one of the 7-year-olds who got bored watching the movie was actually doing laps around the theater and ran past me as like right next to me. And I was just
I,
like, man, this movie's immersive.
I like to think that every theater has hired child actors to just run up and down the
Dude,
theater like
I
stairs.
actually jumped, dude. Uh,
Oh, dude. Oh well, okay. Those kids were so loud. Like, why can't you just walk down the stairs
dude, they were
normally?
like,
Like, they were so loud walking down the stairs. Each step was boom, boom, boom. And then when they got to the ramp where there was no stairs, it was somehow louder. Like they were purposefully stomping. And they like these kids, the parents, what are you doing? Why are you letting your kid run around in the
they're
movie
probably
theater?
fully invested in the movie. That's probably what was going
I
on.
was. I know
Yeah,
I was. Are you cool? Are you cool if we get into spoilers?
I am absolutely cool that we get into spoilers.
Awesome. Well,
Real quick, just say good movie. You should watch it. It already has broken a ton of box office records. It is the highest debut for any Blumhouse movie ever, and is the third highest debut for any horror movie ever. That for a movie that released same day as streaming, which means if you don't want to go to the theater, just crack open a cold root beer with the boys and watch some Five Nights at Freddy's on Peacock. You
wow.
know,
Not a sponsor, but Peacock
no,
hit us up.
yeah,
Uh well, we're in spoiler territory now. And speaking of, brand deals, endorsements, content creators like Cameron and I, um, there was some hype of some YouTubers being in the movie.
Yeah,
And uh I don't know a lot of YouTubers at all that played FNAF. I know one who ended up being involved in a cult, and then the other one, Markiplier, who was not in the movie, but apparently was originally going to be casted as a security guard who dies in the beginning of the movie.
yeah.
Um,
There's some scheduling conflicts with his movie that he's making right now.
right. But the one I was like really hopeful that was going to be in it was Matt Pat himself, Mr. Matthew Patrick from Game Theory.
Yeah.
Great friend of ours.
Friend
Uh
of the podcast, Matthew Patrick.
Um, and his so I mean he was in the movie, right? And I got that spoiled for me. Because Sarah sent me a TikTok and I don't have TikTok, so I have to download the app each time she sends me a video just to watch it and then I delete it. So I downloaded it, and of course the first video that opens up is like Matt Pat at a diner. And did you watch Matt Pat's video on being in the movie?
No, I didn't, because even though I had been spoiled already, I didn't want to see to what extent. I saw a screenshot, so I didn't really know what happened in his scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he posts a video that I watched today. I'll keep it short, right? But basically, he makes a lot of theories, hence the name of the title. And his catchphrase is, and that's just a theory. So in the video, like he says his catchphrase in the movie and then he leaves. Could have been a lot cringier. It really could have. Um, but I'm watching his video and Scott, so what's super cool is that was the first scene that they filmed in the whole movie.
Oh, that's cool.
And while he was getting ready, they had a picture of the whole cast, so he was able to see who was in it, along with like some other content creators. So he has 3 lines, and they brought out a huge wardrobe for him. And then they said Scott, like they're like, "Hey, is Scott gonna be there?" They have a whole bunch of people like, talking around, like whispering, and then people would come up to him, part of like the crew, and would just ask him a quiz question about FNAF. And like they're like, "Who's the purple guy?" or stuff like that, and he'd like answer them, and they had no idea who he was. They've just been told that he is a FNAF expert. That's what his title was. So people would like ask him a question, and then he would like answer it, and they'd like walk away. But while they're getting in wardrobe, Scott shows up. Scott is the creator of the video game. He was also a producer for the movie.
Screenwriter as
And
well.
yeah, so he shows up and he's like super excited to meet Matt Pat, So he's like meeting him or whatever. He's like, "Hey, love your character and his name. His name is Ness." And Matt's thinking like, "Oh, like Vanessa or something like that, just something, a little Easter egg or whatever to make us go crazy." He goes, "No, it's from your Sans and Ness video that you made a few years ago." So they're saying the lines for like a few hours, right? And they're trying to get different shots. And he goes up to Matt and he was like, "Hey, can you say your line, but as like enthusiastic as you do on your YouTube channel?" Uh, and he's like, "Sure." So everyone's taking the scene super serious, and then he goes, "And that's just a theory," and then just walks away. And then the director's like, "Cool, so let's tone it down."
That's
But
great.
yeah, and like they filmed it, and I mean that was that. But I thought that was pretty fun. Oh, and I will say, I know this is we're spending a lot of time on this cameo, but in the background there was going to be a QR code for like the menu or whatever. And Matt was like, is this like anarchological? Because technically this time that the movie takes place is before the usage of when we would use QR codes. So they actually had to take down every QR code in the movie because he like brought that to their realization.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been demolished. That either would have been like made fun of crazy, or people would have been like taken that way too far and be like, the fact that they use on out of time QR codes in the movie demonstrates how William Afton is actually from the future. Yeah.
Right, right, right. Oh,
So to move away from Matt Pat, um I want to get back to talking about, now that we're in the spoiler section, talking about the animatronics, because they could have done it really stupid, and they could have been like, these are mean animatronics and they kill you, and like that could have been the whole movie. But Scott Cawthon, being the person who wrote them, remembered that these are just kids in these suits, and so the animatronics act like kids, and they like drawings. They build forts, which is the best scene in the movie. That's what I was talking about earlier. The animatronics get together to build a fort with the little girl,
Right.
and Bonnie, bro, shout outs to Bonnie, falls off a chair and then gives a thumbs up, like I'm okay. He doesn't
Dude,
say
that's
I'm okay,
such
but
a
he gives a
funny
thumbs up.
scene.
And just the way the animatronics were portrayed is, they're not monsters. They are just children, and in this situation. I just
Right.
thought that was like the best way to go about it.
It was such a wholesome part in the movie, which for such a dark theme. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, yeah, they're ghost kids and everything. Like, yeah, these kids were murdered and put into the suits. Like, that's kind of dark. But then, like, see them have fun is such a weird thing. And then they draw a picture of them all like being good friends together.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but
And oh, what's up?
no, no, you're good, you're good.
I was going to say, to juxtapose the wholesomeness of the animatronics, this is definitely not anywhere close to like a full R-rated movie, but I think some of the shots in here kind of took the PG-13 to its limits a bit. Like someone gets bit in half on screen, and
Right.
there's like a picture of some dude's face that's like completely hardy heart mangled. Like his face is just gone, and they like it looks worse than the High Evolutionary from Guardians 3. And that was a like
Right.
horrifying scene.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely moments where it's like I could hear the conversations on set, like, could we even do this? You know?
I I will say, to kind of go off that, one of my biggest complaints is how there were kind of some side like plot points that were just dismissed. That one is that girl just being eaten in half.
Yeah.
Um, she was the babysitter.
Yeah.
A- And now we're like, oh, okay, whatever. Like we have no scene. I'm sure maybe there's a scene that they probably cut for time or something, I guess. But like
That is
Josh
probably
Hutcherson,
the biggest complaint with the movie.
really?
Is like, I mean, I can see, I haven't done too much extra reviews watching, but like I can see that being that whole plot line with that babysitter just completely disappearing when she dies and no one talks about her. I can see that
No
being a
one,
problem
no one talks about
that
her.
people have with the movie.
Ugh. Yeah, I love this movie. It's great. I mean,
Yeah.
sp-
I oh man, I interrupted you. I'm so sorry, man.
no, you go right ahead, my friend.
I was gonna say, we watched this with my mom, who she had a general understanding of the story, like the first game, like there are kids that haunt the animatronics. That's what she knew. But she
Yeah.
said, as someone who's never played the games, and so she definitely doesn't catch all the Easter eggs, she still really enjoyed the movie. And she plans on watching it again with my dad sometime.
Yeah.
So this is accessible to fans or
The old people.
non-fans. Yeah. But also there is a ton in here for fans of the franchise and stuff like that. Like within the first 30 seconds, Isaac leaned over to me. He's like, "Bro, Balloon Boy." And I'm like, "Yeah." uh,
It's not
uh,
even like an Easter egg. He's in the movie.
yeah. But I think the my favorite scene, my favorite well, not my favorite scene, my favorite shot in the movie is when William Afton is in the Springtrap suit and he's getting spring trapped. That is like, there's a trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's 3 that shows that for like 3 seconds, and they perfectly recreated that in live action. So it was nice to see that. I think that's been something that fans have wanted to see for a while. What does it look like for someone to get spring trapped? And they show it.
Looks
And
painful.
it looks painful and it looks very faithful to the games.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you good?
I'm good. I was leaving the floor open for you to speak.
Oh, I asked if you had anything else.
Oh, I didn't hear that. My apologies. I could talk about this movie for hours, but unfortunately, we're almost out of time. So, Ben,
Yeah.
why don't you give some concluding thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think the writing could be better as far as like some dialogue goes. My favorite
Man, this
parts are
place is freaking bizarre. That's a
I think
highlight.
I think the movie really succeeds with strangely with its like emotional hits.
Yeah.
Um I think the animatronics are great. I think they all have good personalities. I don't know. I enjoy them a lot. And it's just a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, technically it could be better here and there, but I really enjoyed it. And I definitely am gonna watch it again. They set up for sequels, so I'm gonna watch all those too.
Yeah. Um, I couldn't agree more that my expectations were blown out of the water. It's still not the greatest thing ever made, but for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, that sounds like a meme that would never exist because it's been worked on for so long. But I leaned over to Isaac during the movie and I'm like, bro, my level of excitement, the fact that I'm sitting here actually watching the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, this is like phase two Marvel excitement.
Dude, it was great. It was great.
Yeah.
Well, that's just a theory.
Also, the cupcake doesn't make any sense. Why is the cupcake alive? None of the kids were put in the cupcake suit. How does it get around? There's a scene where they have to put the cupcake from broken to fixed because like the kids are waking back up and the ghost kids are waking back up because they were knocked out and they just turn off the lights and turn it back on and the cupcake is just back up. And I love it, but it's like it doesn't make any sense because there
It
were
could have been made a
only
bit
five kids
better.
were killed. Okay, but counting Golden Freddy, there's no sixth kid to fit in the cupcake. Who would even fit in the cupcake?
It could be Mike's brother.
But it has its own feel, like thoughts. I don't think it's Mike's brother. I think Mike's brother is gonna be something else, maybe. But that's my final thing.
Right. Well, that like I said, that's just a theory.
A game theory.
Thanks for watching.
Five Nights at Freddy's. That's where I wanna be. Five Nights at Freddy's.